there is one thing that worries me more than ever, and that is this willingness to look at people we disagree with politically during elections and all and say they're completely wrong. They could not be right. Our willingness to listen to only one television news station or one news station. This idea that somehow we don't have to unify to keep this experiment called America alive, because we all live here by choice. Most of us were born here by choice or moved here by choice. We have a responsibility to turn this country over to our successors with the pluribus unum, meaning something more than some Latin words on a coin in our pocket. And right now, I'm very concerned. You know, Abraham Lincoln at the Young Men's Lyceum, isn't that an interesting word, 1858, says that, and he knows the country's being torn apart, and he said, you know, this country could face all the combined armies of Africa and Europe and Asia, and even if they had a Bonaparte, remember Napoleon had died a few decades before this, before our Civil War. This is 1858, before the Civil War. He said they could combine and come here, even with a great military leader, and they will not cross the Blue Ridge Mountains. They will not get a drink of water out of the Ohio River, because free people won't let them get that far. We'll stop them. He said, no, if this is to die, what we have here, it'll die by suicide. And that, when I read those words here recently, watching what's passing for political dialogue, discourse these days, that was enough to keep me awake that night.
Is there any way...
Last question.
Last question. Outside of serving in a political office, is there any way any one individual like yourself could possibly change this conversation, change this dynamic?
No, there's not one person driving this hatred in the country that's loose, or this contempt for one another, and there's no one person that's going to change it. It is time that we all roll up our sleeves in our parishes, in our school districts, in our communities, in our colleges, in our high schools, in these kind of gatherings here, and we all roll up our sleeves. And when someone starts bandying this enemy of the state, or you're a terrorist because you think differently than someone else, it's time we stand up for someone. Especially it's important that we stand up for them and don't allow them to be called that when we disagree with them. In other words, we don't just want to stand up for the ones we agree with. If we see someone being called a terrorist because they have a different point of view and they're a fellow American, let's keep our affection for one another and protect them and say, I disagree 100% with you, and I don't agree with you being called a terrorist, and by the way, I'm going to dinner with you tonight. You know, we got to get over this stuff, what we're doing. Anyway, there we go. Thank you, Michael.